For thousands of years, humans have been obsessed with time. The ticking of a clock, the hands moving ever forward, so precise, so mechanical. But have you ever stopped to wonder who started it all? Long before digital watches, before pocket watches, before even the towering gears of medieval clock towers, there was an invention so brilliant, so ahead of its time, that it shaped the very way we track our days. A device so accurate that emperors relied on it, scientists refined it, and entire civilizations ran on it. It wasn't powered by gears or springs, it was powered by water. This is the story of the ancient Chinese water clock, an engineering marvel that changed history forever. Let's rewind back 2,500 years to a time when measuring time wasn't as simple as checking your phone. In ancient civilizations, keeping track of time was tricky. The sun and moon were the go-to references, sundials during the day, the stars at night. But what if it was cloudy? What if you were indoors? What if you needed a precise measure of time, not just a vague guess? For most of history, time was kind of a mess. But the Chinese, they weren't about to let something as important as time be left to chance. Enter the clepsydra, a water clock so effective it would be used for over 1,000 years. The concept was elegantly simple, a large container filled with water with a small hole at the bottom. As water dripped out at a steady rate, the level would lower, marking the passage of time. Sounds basic, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Unlike sundials, water clocks worked day and night. They weren't affected by weather. They could be used indoors. And most importantly, by carefully controlling the flow of water, they could provide a consistent measure of time. This wasn't just useful for scholars and astronomers, this was revolutionary for society. Imagine bustling Chinese marketplaces where merchants needed to track trading hours. Imagine scholars studying the stars, needing exact timing for their calculations. Imagine emperors organizing vast armies and officials scheduling complex bureaucratic duties. The water clock wasn't just a device, it was power. Now, the earliest water clocks were effective, but they weren't perfect. Over time, they needed constant adjustments because the water flow could change with temperature and pressure. So what did the Chinese do? They innovated. By the Tang dynasty, 7th to 10th century CE, they had taken water clocks to the next level. Engineers like Yi Xing, a Buddhist monk and mathematician, created some of the most sophisticated timekeeping devices of the ancient world. One of their greatest innovations, the escapement mechanism. This was an early form of automation, a system that controlled the flow of water in measured intervals, creating a precise ticking motion. This was the foundation of mechanical clocks centuries before Europe would develop their own versions. They also added gears, wheels, and even automata, moving figurines that would ring bells or strike drums at set times. Think about that for a second. Over 1,000 years ago, these water clocks weren't just measuring time, they were performing mechanical movements before the first European mechanical clocks even existed. But if one water clock stands above all others, it's Susong's astronomical clock. Built in the 11th century, this massive, multi-story timekeeping machine was an absolute masterpiece. It wasn't just a water clock. It was an entire clock tower, complete with a giant escapement system to regulate water flow, rotating armillary spheres to track celestial movements, and even an automated puppet show that chimed the hours. Susong's design was so advanced that even today historians marvel at its ingenuity. 1,000 years ago, China had already created a mechanized timekeeping system on a grand scale. So why does this all matter? Because the water clock was the foundation of timekeeping. Without it, there would be no modern clocks, no precise scheduling, no accurate astronomy, no advanced engineering of gears and mechanisms. It changed how societies functioned, how people organized their lives, how entire empires controlled vast territories and economies, and most importantly, it proved that human ingenuity has always found a way to master the forces of nature, even something as elusive as time itself. Today we glance at our watches, check our phones, or look at digital clocks on every screen around us. But next time you do, remember where it all began. A simple pot of water, a steady drip, a civilization that refused to be left in the dark. The ancient water clock, the invention that changed time forever.